time. Print stuff out. Changes. Page number that it all said, so it tells you that something's changed. I gotta go back and look at it all. I decided.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and flag the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Does anybody have any agenda changes? Okay, none, we'll stay. Public comment, we're gonna go into a public hearing in a moment, but, are you here for the hearing or? Okay. There's no public comment at this time. All right, we'll, going to conduct a public hearing on the Jim Osling rezoning request, from residential 2 to commercial C1. So I'm going to recess the regular meeting and open the public hearing. So we're open to public comments.
So can you tell me which parcel that is? So I just have the parcel number.
You want to know the parcel number that is?
Yeah, just to make sure it matches the one that I have. I
Okay,
don't know if you're doing multiple or just one, not.
just one. It's 72-004-015-008-0320.
That's one.
Okay, if you'd like to comment, would you come up to the mic and,
You want
No, go ahead, that's. I'm the one that entered the request.
Okay.
your name for the record?
Tim Padlock, I live just west of the parcel that's gonna be rezoned. Me and my wife just moved here recently, and we got this letter, we're trying to figure what's going on. So excuse me for being a little bit behind, the curve here. Can y'all tell us why they're trying to rezone it?
Yes. It's commercial property to the east.
Yep.
This is part of that property. That property is split zone. Okay, so you understand that situation. The owner would like to use that for commercial
Can
purposes.
you tell me what that commercial reason is?
He's applied for a cell tower permit.
Okay.
As far as I know, but once it's rezoned, it could be anything within that district, C1 district, so.
My land does back up to the west side of that, so I'm objecting to getting it rezoned because that third, that is residential on the west side, acts as a buffer between me and any sort of business that would come in.
Sure.
And in the future, I could not know what's going in there, so it could be something that may not be environmental friendly. If I wanted to build something on that property, my next up property line, there could be a business that could have some sort of hazardous material in there, like pesticides or herbicides, or something in there that I could not control. So that's my objection.
Okay. Be aware that most any uses under that commercial district, there's rules and regulations that go with those uses, so.
So I'm an environmental engineer,
Okay,
so yeah,
but, so I don't know what it would be, but yeah, I agree with your points.
understand. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
I just didn't catch, do you own the house back there?
Yes.
Oh, that's where you live?
Yes. If you're talking about the end of Middle Ark Drive,
Yeah,
yes, that's mine.
that's your place, okay.
Okay, so your property isn't abut yours?
It does. Well, just a little section of it actually. His property is right behind the landscape business.
Right.
They butt up right to it, and then this piece to the north, there's just maybe 30 feet that actually touches it, but it's essentially adjacent to it, yes.
Kitty corner.
Kitty corner, yeah.
It's
You would,
looking at the plot map, it's pretty tight.
yeah, it's only, like I said, maybe 30 feet, so that's pretty tight.
You don't own the next lot, do you? Or do you?
To the.
To the north?
No, that's in a trust,
Okay.
is my understanding.
I have no other comments as far as, you know, you have my paperwork from before, so that's all I had, so.
Okay, well, we'll leave the hearing open for a few more minutes to see if anybody shows up. Any break or so.
Hi, I'm here. I didn't know if I could come in or not yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We have a signage sheet over there on the corner. The table.
I talked to just. Yeah.
Are you here to speak at the public hearing?
I don't think so. I'm here to see about getting
Oh, Mark.
landlords, yeah.
I now I recognize you, Mark. I didn't recognize you at first. Sorry. Okay, yeah.
So am I too early or?
Well, we got a public hearing ahead of you and a couple items, so
Yeah, I can wait out here.
you know, you can see. it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, saying. I wasn't sure, like I said, I didn't recognize you. Gotcha. One thing I did, research. You know, after the public hearing. We're supposed to send all this over to the county planning commission. There's no county planning commission, I could find.
They actually talked about it at their meeting.
Right, they disbanded that a while back, so. I guess we just skipped that step.
But is there, I was trying to find the. References which are. Could find the zoning ordinance and about following stuff and procedure wise. Are you referencing the zoning thing?
Just
Like,
that
I already
guideline.
sure that it's like other notes from something else.
Yeah, no, this is just a guideline that the process for rezonings. And,
Right, was that in the master plan or was that in the Gerrish Township ordinance or is that a different time?
I don't know where that is. That's a state. Part of the zoning.
I know we've done stuff like that before. Where we submitted up there, but I was just kind of reviewing, I couldn't find the references for it.
you know, here's the stuff, and here's the recommendations and the whole, you know, the procedure. Items for reporting to the township board and the other.
Well, in the past, we just put together our thoughts and all that sort of thing and sent it to them.
Right.
You
And
know,
I've been in the past, you know, this was years ago,
me too.
you know, said, on the planning commission thing for there is to answer questions that they had.
Right.
It's very exciting.
But I don't know if it's in the zoning act, what you would do with all that sort of thing. It's just,
There may be something in the county. You know, process, but at that time, the county plan commission was one meeting once a quarter. And that was like 6 years ago, and then they were, of those once a quarter, they're supposed to be, they only met. You know, and yeah, and it turned out to be, you know, maybe once or twice a year of that.
you might want to contact MTA to see what's going on with that. Get one call. Find out what people have in the county. I'm gonna go ahead and close the hearing, doesn't affect anybody else's. Shit.
Jim, I guess I might make a couple of comments. If I can, before you close the hearing. Just a reminder to the planning commission that of the history. Reminder to the planning commission of the history of how this happened to get this way, just for the record, that it started off as a commercial property and I applied for, or I applied for a building permit on, actually applied as a residential property, and then I applied for a building permit and the change of the zoning for parcel 4, where our landscape business is. And the planning commission at that time changed all 4 parcels. Parcel 4 that I'm on, parcel 3 that's the subject of this meeting, and then the Dollar General, and then the last one that he had. And they changed all those to commercial, to extend the commercial district farther to the north, and it's an extension of the existing commercial. We, right away, at that time, this was in 2000. And we applied, we put our building up and got started on our landscape business. And I had an option to purchase parcel 3, once again, the subject of this rezoning request. And I held that for a while. The previous owner of these folks' property came to the planning commission after it had been all rezoned and said that he had second thoughts and wanted to change to residential. And of course, I had already started my building and whatever, and so the planning commission at that time decided that as a compromise, they would rezone the western 215 feet of those last 3 parcels to residential. So that's how it got that way. I didn't really think of it at the time, but I also had no plans for that parcel. I was hanging on to it just for some protection against the property we had. And in case we wanted to expand our business, it was a logical extension. So I just let it go with that. The back parcel is residential. It's been, right now, it's not being used for anything. I probably have some spoils on there now, some trash, not trash, but some dirt we'll haul off every year. We generally haul that away. But I still firmly believe that that property, all that property should be 100% commercial. There's an argument that it provides a buffer in there, but it also is a take from the commercial property to restrict the use of it. The commercial property now becomes a fair amount smaller because you simply can't do both. You could build a house or something on it, that's true, but it just doesn't seem like a very practical approach for that chunk of property. And I'm afraid that if it turns out that something like I'll just say like a Dollar General comes along, that is a plus to the community, or a restaurant or something, or who knows, that needs some extra room, I would like to be able to offer that up as additional property back there. As one thing, or as, like you mentioned, this cell tower opportunity is also still out there. But I just want to refresh memory on how this kind of got to where it is today. So that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, I'm going to close the hearing and convene a regular meeting. Next thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes and reports. We have the May 16th, 2024 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Terry, support, sorry. Support. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we'll go right into our old business, which is Mr. Austin's rezoning request.
Right, so you have it on here is the sketch plan for the communications tower, but this really should be the rezoning.
Yeah, that's what I meant, I guess. Good point. Well, we have one comment, and they were not forward from the property owners to the rear of the subject property. And not surprised. It's be a big change in the sense of.
Did you get any correspondence on this?
Not that I'm aware.
I talked to Jason just coming in here, and he said he had 2 phone calls, basically people just asking what the situation was, what's going on. And we explained it, mentioned the possible tower, they said that was fine with that. I don't have a name, I don't have official documentation, but those are the only inquiries he had. Either way about the particular zone.
He didn't mention anything to me about. I didn't think to ask. Usually they just hand that into me.
Right, yeah, I mean, it's normally like correspondence, there was no correspondence that came in,
No, but
it was just, right, it was just a phone call.
okay.
Someone from surrounding property.
Well, in our previous discussions, we talked about the that property being by being converted to residential back in the day. You just basically moved residentially next, you still have the same situation, residential, but in commercial. It just doesn't affect the lots in the subdivision, you create that buffer for them. In the zoning ordinance, we do have quite extensive setbacks, requirements and stuff, when you have that situation where a residential abuts a commercial district. There's setbacks set in place to create separation on the commercial property from the residential. And then if there's also an exception in there where the planning commission can actually increase the setbacks even further than what's in the table. Create even a greater setback. Remembering all that?
Are you asking what the setbacks are?
No, I'm just, kind of going over our discussion a month ago. This, basically in C1 and C2 districts, the site plan approving body may increase the required rear yard setback a maximum of 100% in the case where a rear yard abuts a conservation or residential district and is determined necessary to adequately mitigate impacts of the proposed use and site layout on adjacent uses and properties. This provision shall not prohibit site plan approving body from also requiring special landscaping, screening, and measures to further mitigate such impacts. So my point is the ordinance does have some strict guidelines and possibilities to mitigate the residential. Those just have to be determined prior to deciding whether or not to change this. No, because you gotta remember that if you change the zoning, it's just, I guess, how's your question? I guess my question is, if those things that would ask them for larger setbacks, that be determined as a subject of what you do with the zoning process. No, it's just to illustrate what could be, just saying it's a decision to be made later. Well, it's gonna be part of the site plan. I mean, whether they did a cell tower or they did a commercial building, some kind of enterprise, car dealership, something. Anything that's allowed in C1, that applies. You can increase the setbacks if it's felt. So necessary to be considered at that time. Right. Oh, yeah, you definitely would look at it.
I think a couple meetings ago, when we first talked about this, I think it was in March. We went over, if I recall correctly, reviewed the minutes. That seemed to be compatible. We went over each of the possible uses of things in C1. And it didn't seem like any of that stuff was inconsistent or incompatible with the usage for this surrounding area.
Yeah, most of those uses are
It's like restaurants, commercial. Or
domestic nature. I don't know how to classify it, but they're not industrial. It's not C2 where you have more industrial uses and so forth. It's more of a local. So you could argue for it, you could argue against it. The big thing I think you need to keep in mind is that if you do rezone it, all uses in that district are available for that property at that point. Not just a cell tower, whatever. So that's the crux of it, I think. Do you think we need more information? Or you think you have enough to?
I think there's enough, we could put bullets down. I mean, the next step here is basically recommend for or against to the township board for the rezone. Then also submit at the same time concurrently to the county and what we talked about briefly during the open. If the public hearing portion, that there is, the planning commission, which for the county doesn't exist anymore, however. There are still some other, I think, private road commission, there are a bunch of other things we have to, I think, submit it and, for 30 days. And then they get a chance to review it and come back. And
Yeah, I think we should create our report. and basically lay out all the pluses and minuses, you know, so just give the township board enough information to make a decision.
Would we be recommending to them what we feel should happen, or just give them the information to let them?
No, we should come up with our recommendation. We're gonna recommend.
Anytime you send something forward, I would recommend, or you provide a recommendation with like findings of facts, or, you know,
Yeah.
just like we did with the other site plans and that stuff, one way or the other, yeah, I mean, they have the ultimate call, and you say, okay, we're recommending here, here's the board consensus, there may be some dissenting opinions, and you include some bullet points from that. The question is, do we do that here, or do we want to wait for the 30-day period after the see if there's any other feedback from the other entities we have to forward the stuff to?
The only one I think is the county, and I think you hit it on the head, is we should just submit this to them and let them tell us. We got no opinion on it because we don't have a board or
Yeah,
whatever.
and then,
But we got the record and the paper trail.
right, and then at that time, like at the next meeting, basically, we would just do a summary and make the recommendation at that time. One way or the other.
Yeah, because normally the county would have 30 days to reply, and we have to wait 30 days to, and if they don't reply, then you assume it's okay, or. But that's all it says, it doesn't say anything about road commission.
And that, or I may be complaining something that was possibly some other special use. And it might be for the, ordinance changes, I think that's what, if I recall now. That's why we had to send it to the others, so everybody had a chance to look at it, at the county, that there were multiple offices in there that had changed their. But again, I asked Jason, again, it's there, he says it's rezoning process procedure type items and stuff like that, and our zoning ordinance are essentially not really discussed. Any detail, like the site plans or other type changes.
Okay.
Right, it's just that the township board has the overall authority, so the question is. Do we want to put all the stuff together right now and then, you know, make a recommendation on 30 days, or wait 30 days and then put all the bullets there? And at that time,
You think?
I don't think the county's going to do it.
No, they're not, it would just be the following procedure, and they're gonna tell us. They have no comment, basically.
right, but however, just from a procedural standpoint on that that's again assumption on our part, and. And that if you're following things correctly and trying to be consistent with procedural stuff, you know, that gives you back. That supports, or, you know, your decision one way or the other for potential appeals. You should go ahead with the procedure stuff. I mean, so I'm inclined to say, you know. We submit the proposal to any of the recommended authorities which we need to identify. And then after the 30 days, get their input. And then at that time, sum up. Include that input with our findings into the recommended.
Yeah, they just say, upon completion of the public hearing, refer the petition to the county zoning review body. And they have 30 days in which to respond or waive. I mean, their commitment, so.
And looking, you know, reviewing some of the MTA references and the zoning or rezoning and stuff, there was two big criteria. Was it compatible essentially with the master plan and your intent? And then is it consistent again with the master plan and the intent of the surrounding properties and stuff out there? And I think from a both standpoint, I think there's stuff that I would write down. Is that for consistency, you know, it's the same property, which is actually dual, you know, it's got a dual zone on here. And for this area right next to it, it only goes back as far as their back is his lot. You know, adjacent that he already has, so I think it's consistent, you know, and compatible both with the master plan. For changing it back to C1, which it was at one point there.
I would agree.
It also, you know, we reviewed the all the other stuff in C1, we didn't have a problem with that before, or identifying potential problems with the other uses on there. I know that the comment that was made here, you know, about the potential environmental stuff and toxic and, you know, those kind of things. You've got that stuff already with C1. I mean, there's gonna be.
On the larger adjacent part of the property.
Right. I know, but we also have, when we throw whatever goes in there, it has to meet the standards and stuff of the zoning ordinance, in the township, and that takes into account the toxic or any stuff or prohibits any of that kind of like storage or, you know, or that it's handled appropriately, you know, within the regulations, not from necessarily from the township only, but also state and federal laws as well. So I think that stuff is stuff that could be, you know, addressed if anything. You know, if another thing goes in there.
I think that the rezoning request is reasonable. Especially given the fact that. I don't believe that this part or the piece to its north. Seem to be. Very conducive to residential property to start with. And that they're kind of landlocked into these other positions. There's no access to. Not, I kind of.
I think that's a supporting point too, for,
Kind of question why it got that way in the first place. I mean, and I guess the other part, I think I can understand the concern with the objector. I do think though that it's such a small part of adjacent property on that property that I wouldn't consider that to be an overriding piece of information as far as the actual zoning. So I think that it's something that we should recommend that we do. Make the change.
like, say,
Yeah, one question, if zoning doesn't change, it stays residential that year. What's if can they sell that 250-foot parcel from the other C1? And if they do, what's their access? Are they gonna have to put access through the commercial property already, which is not gonna help that? Because they can't come in from the other side, and that's already residential, so.
It's two pieces are landlocked.
Yeah. So I agree with Greg, it makes sense that they should continue.
Yeah, you run into all kinds of issues because, you know, your properties supposedly have the X amount of frontage on a road. You know, it literally becomes what designated as a flag plot. You got a long easement. Get the property back there.
That'll take away property from the rest of the C1 each. Cut their frontage.
But yeah, right now, the only way that could be accessed would be through the.
Yeah.
Commercial in front of it, unless. We just sell it to the person to the west, you know.
Large networks.
I agree with your comments. Procedurally, what do you think, Mike? Should we take a vote that we're gonna kind of recommend it? Yeah, or no, everything, and go to the county first.
I would say, I would recommend going to the county first, getting that stuff, so that, you know, you make your recommendation, you have all the information that you put forward there, and that you don't want to be,
Just basically, you give us a.
right. I mean, they're good, you know, I agree with Greg, they're probably, it's gonna be, I don't think anybody's gonna resist it from the county standpoint, but, and there'll probably be a non-response, it's,
All right, then I think we'll just, table this until we hear back from the county.
I agree.
Don't we need to recommend to the county what our findings are? And about them,
Not necessarily,
as you tell them we're considering it.
but we give them the facts, the detail behind it. I don't, we have to info one way or the other.
Right, if they let them, I mean, if somebody's got a problem, you know, from like a hazardous waste or, you know, environmental standpoint or setback things or something, you let them point that out.
Usually when they have, if they did have their planning commission, the president, chairman, would go to their meetings and explain the situation with the county board. Yeah. So, well, basically, we're gonna end up doing is probably kind of doing that in a letter. And then send it up there and see if they're gonna act on it or how they handle it. So we won't take an exact position officially until we hear back from them.
And if their 30-day period then expires and we haven't heard anything back from them, then
We just
go ahead
move
and
forward.
make a
Yeah,
recommendation.
I mean,
to Gerrish Township.
And we also, I would include that in, it says, we submit it to the filing, organizations, entities, whatever, for their consideration in accordance with whatever statutes there are, and we receive comments back from one way or the other from the following, and or if you did get anything back from these, and then you say, based upon all the inputs we have and the information, here's our points and stuff, we recommend as follows.
Don't we have to say that this is our intention, recommendation, otherwise why aren't we sending?
So they're looking at the overall county. Like, so they're taking a bigger picture. of What we're doing, usually they'll ask us, is it? Do you feel it fits your master plan, you know, your township plan, that type of thing? They're just, they're not really, I mean, I've never really had an objection, anyway. You might have had a concern or two about road or access or traffic or something. But they have the option of just waiting.
We have the ability to actually ask for that second parcel that's to the north, to be rezoned in the same way.
You can.
Because I-
Basically, that's what happened.
The same problems occurred. I'm not sure that it's exactly the same as the third parcel to the north, which is actually on Meadowlark Drive. Because that does have access. That could just easily be residential. Is that what it is now? Would it be appropriate to,
I don't know.
Actually. On the rezoning thing, this from the MTA. Booklet here, it talked about that the township is not. To, request it, it's gotta come voluntarily from the property.
so without a specific request for that additional property, that we shouldn't take any action.
We'll go back to your question. Yes, we could institute all the properties. You'd have to notify the owners of the intent, see what their thoughts are and why and so forth. Yeah, yeah. It might be better to suggest that as a possibility to the township board and see if they could do it. But it's a whole nother process. I think we have to finish this request before we can go there. Sure, he doesn't want to wait.
I don't think now it's Jim, is very good cheer, one way or the other. First, I mean, the back of their property is residential. Down again, so
Right,
maybe somewhere, don't, it's not gonna affect them. They're not gonna try to sell it off.
probably not.
No.
Okay, so we'll just submit it to the county, get their thoughts, comments on that. And then,
Right, so the first thing we have to figure out who we need to submit this stuff to. Since the planning commission doesn't exist. Yeah,
we send it to Uncle Joni,
Don't hear the
where she knows where to go, where to probably handle it.
Yeah.
I can give her a call. When's our next regular meetings?
Yeah, second Thursday of,
July,
I've got July 11th, but
yes.
July 11th? Okay, our next step is to send this, our findings up to the county level. And we don't think there's a planning commission currently active. So my guess would be they're just gonna waive any comment. But we'll have to see what happens there and then probably act on this at our next meeting. Okay. All right,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Nobody's here from the James Witt site plans. I haven't received any updated information, so.
And I had another drafted and I got it printed out to send to them.
Okay.
That we talked about before, like we normally do with any deficiencies or things that need to be followed up. And it was also the impression, and Jason agreed that, last time that, Pat Witt, they were not gonna be acting, kind of immediately on this. They were gonna, they're gonna take it and then there's probably gonna be some time, months, not longer.
Did they have all the questions answered though at that point? Were there any outstanding questions yet after the last meeting?
Yes.
Yes, and those were included in the minutes, and then that stuff is the stuff I put in the letter, which I got printed out, signed, and get sent out tomorrow. They were pretty, most stuff it was, covered basically is, included narrative.
Just a minor.
Right, and several just, procedural things to include in the statement. And, they didn't need to do any major,
Redrawing nothing, just locate.
yeah, they had to put some, officially has drawing. But nothing like environmental studies or something like that, because that was.
Okay. Well, we'll just leave it on the agenda until they show back up. I'd like to make a change. Well, instead of going to short-term rental review, let's jump to new business. Mr. Severance is here to review his site plan. So is that okay with everybody? We looking him up.
I'm assuming, yeah, you have copies. I didn't bring mine. You did? Do I need it?
We got one. I couldn't read it a little.
Martin. It's just this one 3-page document, but. I think so, there's drawings of the structure and then also.
You're basically having a building.
Yep, there's build another, building for materials, storage.
I can just review that in the past, he actually submitted a couple
I have
different ones here, they just talked to Jason
I
about that.
have in the past.
Yeah, and I'm one of the stuff, so this is all totally new.
Yeah.
And just in case you see some stuff, you know, it was 2021 that he submitted one, I think he may have submitted one prior to that. 2021 was potential storage unit you had to replace.
Yeah,
And that was, we never went any further than the preliminary site. plan.
yeah,
And
the material costs went skyrocketed, so I got it bought.
yeah, so everything here is completely new. I drove by it just prior to the meeting here. I drove in the back there were 4 white stakes.
Yeah.
I assume that's the footprint in there is really good.
That's what we want.
It says that half of the building is to be heated, the other half.
Yeah.
Is there a wall dividing that then? Is that how that's? How do you do that? I didn't see it.
You know what, there might not be anything in that, in the drawing on the coming up for us.
Yes, it's.
But there will be a law, yeah, if that's your question, yeah, there's gonna be a law with a.
10 by 10 garage door.
Yeah, to move stuff of larger sizes in and out, all one to the others.
It doesn't show, at least I can, where the actual heating. What that would be.
It might not be in that room. That was kind of a run. Quick, you know.
You're on well and septic. Well and septic, and
Yeah.
you're on a well and septic.
Yeah.
Can you show us where that is? You know what?
Maybe I didn't understand the question. Are we having a well and septic with the new building?
No, you have an existing.
We do. Is the well beyond this corner of this, and then septic is at this point. This front. It says behind is the back here, yeah.
Your power lines overhead or underground?
There's an overhead line.
This is comes from 3. This is,
Yeah, I purchased this first. And then purchased this and combined.
so it's considered one.
Yeah,
So this parcel 3 is actually, this is part of that parcel.
yes.
These lines are confusing.
Originally, I didn't own this. This is driveway here, and I didn't really, legally own, I didn't own until I purchased it.
And then you combine, okay.
It's all gravel.
That is gravel, yeah.
Is it all like, parking or drivable gravel or?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, you said right. Really, this is all right. This is all right. This is grass.
Yeah, the time frame to get the budget started next week. And how long do you think it is?
You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I started. Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, I know in the past you went over, we've got a site plan checklist we use to go over the stuff. Um, Did you have a copy of that from the past, do you recall? I can provide you one here. Well,
know, if I do, I probably do, but it's gonna be older somewhere. I could rotate it, but I don't have it.
yeah.
There are things on the checklist too that ask for, statements identifying permits that may be required. Or, you know, if there are any other permits required.
But there's probably, this could be a separate one for the estimated.
No, I don't think normally we're talking like driveway accesses. Of the road commission, but using existing stuff, so basically all that kind of stuff. Since it's already existing use, it's just another building on the property. You're using existing parking lots and everything, access points, power. Are you planning any bathrooms or anything like that in there? Not that it's not, okay.
If we could just kind of go through that.
Yeah, it's not this, you're not even gonna apply.
Yeah. And a lot of these things may not apply, that's, we got one currently that doing addition. But several things you won't need to do, but there will be some things that need to be included as far as additional thing for statements. First, like this, the zoning right now, is it C1 or is it C2?
I have no idea what to do with that.
C2. Where you did the site plan. Commercial use. This one right here is the planning commission approvals for, we don't need to go to the township board to get their approval. This is preliminary site planning. I'm just filling out some of the stuff in that couple page there, so if we start at page 1 of 3. Starting up there, number 1 for the documents. The public notice of special land use hearing, that's not required. Application, we've got your application, and if there's any additional stuff, you'll need to provide those. We put 10 initially, but talk with Jason, I think we only X amount of copies of these things. Okay, like maybe 3 or 4, because initially it was given one to everybody. I think that we've got stuff up with you, so that's that 10 stuff is. Project narrative that we'll talk about a little bit below, but that's something that's kind of like an executive summary that we're asking to do now. These things, it's like 1 or 2 page thing up front, say here's the project, the description, and if there's any statements like permits required or special things we call out, that's the place where you put in. Same thing with a base plan. So we.
Where were you at on that? Where? I lost.
If you go,
You're on page 1 of 3.
yeah, 1C from the very top,
Okay,
project narrative.
so what are you asking?
So
Yeah, so I tried to put all the documents that need to be submitted up here in the first section. It is a summary, then some of these things are talked about in detail and following. So the project narrative, some that you didn't submit right here, then that'll be something that's just like it's an area, you know, the site plan has all the requirements and stuff on it, but this is something that somebody can read for a little bit older, okay, they're doing this, here's a time frame, here's any, you kind of summarize everything.
Okay.
On there. So that will be, you get that, instead of 10 copies, we don't need 10. Jason can tell you how many he actually needs now. The safety sketch. That's missing right here, I know. Some of the stuff, like the city schedule is small and set, you can put on these sets, it's like all the properties immediately touching it, what they're zoned as.
I have to get all that.
Yeah.
He's basically that, like, he shows the Scott Marcy buildings up here, and divide again retail on the south, or east side of it. I think he's got that pretty well covered.
Okay. Elevation drawings, you got that. On here, floor plans, you got that drawing. Statement identifying any of the federal, state, or local permits required, there may not be any required, but that's just something you put in there, if there are, you're in there. Photographs, that's optional, so you don't need to do that. The reports, environmental impact mitigation report is required. You're just adding non-backyard, that's.
Yeah, that would
nothing
be
required for this.
He's in the middle of his file.
Traffic impact mitigation is required, there's nothing. I would say it's not here, yeah, it's just in the back, you already. Property line survey.
That's right here.
Okay, schedule of anticipated project completion. That'd just be something, it doesn't need to say, you know, we're gonna start this date, we're looking for. When the day you say go, X number of days before it gets here, and then. Just so it's just a generic date, so.
Do you want me to get a copy of that?
Yes, good, and you could also just include that in the narrative summary. Just as a bold and say, okay, once we start, we're gonna lay,
We're looking at a
key milestones.
100 days. Yeah, we got it complete.
Yeah, we do this after,
Just but interesting something, right?
yeah. Okay, going on to the minimum requirement site plan. First one, you met that, it talks about all the scales and the items and signatures on there. It's covered again, the name applicant, to be, you see, those are covered. The skinny, the vicinity sketch, 2D, got that. Property line survey, 2E, you got that. 2F, identify existing building structures, done that in the site plan. 2G, identify existing features on within 300 feet of the site, including woodlands, wetlands, drainage areas. This doesn't mention,
Or see anything like that, right? That's your question.
right, I didn't see.
Which one?
The identifying all features and stuff like that within 300 feet. Two G. Yeah, so the identify.
It's also. I see the other areas, the buildings, identified on the side.
So this is where you identify existing natural features on and within 300 feet of the site, including woodlands, wetlands, drainage courses, bodies of water, topography, soils by type, drainage features, according to county survey soil, county soil survey. ID size and type location of all trees of 10 foot or 10 inches or greater in diameter, not otherwise part of woodland areas.
Is there woods on the property, Mark? I guess on my. property.
There is, yeah, there's some pine trees. There's a row of pine trees separating the property to the black.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have to put every tree down there, I would just identify on here.
I, with this work, I have actually. Oh. That's not right. But I didn't use it out. It was like 2 years ago.
Everything's still relatively the same as honestly.
Yeah.
That would,
I have.
Look like a drone photo or a that thing, shot. The 2H, ID to require front side and rear setbacks for principal buildings in the district.
You're looking at 2H, you said?
Yes.
Fine. What exactly does that mean? Yeah. Is that what you're requiring from me? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so
What is I here to the setbacks are basically when you put a building up, like you can't put it in so many feet of the property line.
Of the property.
Yeah, so that's what they're, for here. The specifies the specifics of front, rear, and side setbacks of the property, so you could just put around your building. Just like a dash line, here's a setback, and somebody's, that dash line may be included already.
Or your side setbacks are only 9 feet, so we've got basically drawing.
Yeah.
To scale.
Yeah, you got that, those are identified on here.
Okay.
That's what this dash line is, and I'd see underneath the,
Yeah, I know what you. So I'm good with that. You're good with that?
yeah, this one, that's it. Yeah, you're good there. So it's got the property, boundaries on there, then the setback, the dash line, so anything, inside the dash line is fine, if anything went over that, variance would, yeah, or variance would be required and may or may not be granted, but this is fine, good to go. Okay, the narrative, we discussed that already. Addition, that's 2I, that just lists the stuff on there as a guide.
Okay.
Something put on there. 2J, proposed right of ways, easements, deed restrictions. If there's any, I don't think any that applies here.
No,
Proposed roads, driveways, and alleyways. Either that doesn't apply here. You're behind your carpet thing already. We're good. 2L, source location of public private utilities, potable water, sewage.
you might want to locate your well on your site plan.
And then get the distance. Is that what we're looking for?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just tie it to two buildings or the lot line or something.
Yeah, point,
Same with your septic system. And, you could indicate where your overhead power lines are running.
Okay. I'm really unprepared. Have you got a pencil or an extra pen or something? There you go. Hey, thanks. I thought you guys were just gonna say, yeah. No.
Would be nice.
And while you're taking notes here, again, we'll type the stuff up in the minutes and I'll kind of a detailed thing going through here. Here's the things that are missing or deficient. And then identify the things, and then with that, I put the section number of the zoning ordinance, and so you got a quick reference on that too, so, and I put
for each of these bullets, if there's anything missing or deficient, I list that in there, I don't necessarily word for word here, but no particular things. And then you've got the reference, so you can go in the ordinance and see the specifics. And then, so that'll be included in minutes, and what I'll do is also take that and copy it and put it in a special letter, separate letter that we sent to you, say, here's the items, there's a follow-up stuff that we're requesting.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, and we did before I got the copies, but I think we never went the next step.
Never followed through with it.
So,
Okay, good.
okay, so. 2L, we need utilities, septic, and, well, just identify in the site plan where they are, the distance. 2M, proposed accessory building structures, including trash receptacles, enclosures, and lightings. So this is the proposed building. And there's a separate thing on there for lighting and stuff.
Okay.
Talking about the requirements like for downlighting. When it's essentially deficient, that stuff will be, wrapped up with the lighting stuff that you mentioned. And for the place where the storage is, the thing where they're gotta be separate storage bins, this is not the case now with before. And so. Graphic illustration of location to the extent which natural features of the site shall be disturbed or otherwise cleared under. So that essentially I would say it's not required for this building up behind. I would agree. Okay, next page, 2O, landscaping screening plan in compliance with all the requirements, Article 11.
I think that really applies here, he's in the middle of his.
Right.
Yeah. Parking lot,
So required, grading, storage, storm drainage and stormwater management plan, including soil erosion and sedimentation.
I don't think that'll apply either, because again, he's in the middle of his. It's all been, I mean, that's a parking lot now, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's, really, you're not really changing any of the grades or anything other than just the paving. Yeah.
Footings. Yeah, none of that.
I mean, none of it should impact his neighbors.
And 2Q, so that's not required for 2P, 2Q, location specifications for any proposed above and below ground storage facilities for any toxic or hazardous waste.
There's gonna be it, so it's not necessary to look.
Yeah, so you're not doing anything. You're not gonna be having additional underground storage for toxic, and that's a statement I would put in the narrative too, is they, gotcha, we're not. Elevation drawings, you already mentioned that. Statement identifying any federal, state, or local limits required, if any. Again, if there are none, then this state such, and I think this right here, some of the major ones are like the erosion plans and. Again, just say you need the project completion schedule. And then 2U, other information, it's kind of a catch-all. Yeah, so if you just include your total. Okay, general standards for 3A. All elements shall be harmoniously, efficiently organized in relation to size, and character of the lot. You're meeting that. 3B, site shall be a character of sports purpose of the district, in sports your business, consistent. So you got that met. 3C, site plan shall not impede the normal and orderly development, improvement, or enjoyment of surrounding property permitted in the district. You met that. Again, that's with the getting outdoor, or signage, or, I assume you're gonna have lighting on the outside of the building possibly, or,
Probably two,
okay, you guard, you state that, and then just
like
say,
over the door, you know.
yeah, and just, again, there's a overhead lighting thing on there, so the ordinance specifies, so just state that on the site plan your buildings. That plan should provide for the removal of stormwater. Open, sorry, 3D back up. Shall preserve the environmental character of the site as far as minimizing removal during site. You met that. 3E, site plan should provide removal of stormwater so as to minimize its on-site flood plans and ensure well-being, so you're consistent with the current. Good ones that met that. 3F, site plan should provide the vehicular and non-motorized circulation. We changed there, that's met. 3G, the site plan should provide for appropriate location while necessary to full utilities underground facility should be. You're gonna have any new utility lines or anything like that running to the building? Or is it just like underground?
I'm thinking that we do undergrounds, just from the existing building.
And that's something where you put the utilities and stuff on the site plan, they can just do that like underground connections.
Yep.
I would think you include that on the same meter that saves you in the long run too. If there's not required to be able to do that, maybe you need more requirements out there, but.
Yeah, I'm not really, that was my plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know it makes a difference of those you get 2 meters.
Yeah.
Okay, and 3I, this is basically to perform all the planning township requirements. So as far as I can see, it's meeting all those unless something else comes up. Then the specific standards again for the you're not putting up any signs.
No.
The standards for that. No off-street parking and loading. Good to go, landscaping and screening. Nothing area required. Environmental protection stuff. Just review Article 12, see if there's anything that's perfect to you. And same thing for the supplement provisions. I don't know if there's anything. That those are things like on here that if you went there and looked at section 20, we may be doing some addition or certain things that fall under those criteria, most likely there. Then again, one number 5, special use stuff, for general standards, harmonious with township master plan, you've got that met. General objectives and purpose of the ordinance, you've got that. Compatible with adjacent conforming uses of land, got that. By the sign, appropriate appearance. Looks like it's gonna be that. 5, not hazardous or disturbing to existing or future use in the vicinity. Like that. 5F, serve adequately public, essential public facilities and services. Which is the traffic and stuff, so fire and all that. Okay. 5G, All uses, activities, processes, materials. And be detrimental to any person, property, or welfare, people should be that. 5H, not all uses, activities, materials, equipment, or condition of operation of the detrimental to the natural environment. With your sort of. Surface water, groundwater resources. That. By not create excessive addition requirements, common costs, or common facility service. That. 5J, apply the site plan approval standard section 4. Like that, so here's. Especially you stop at 6 is not applicable. And then complete this conformity stuff, and get some of those items back that somebody reassess. I think this needs to be part of some preliminary site plan. Stuff is submitted so far, other stuff could be. I agree with you, from some of it.
Questions for Dr. Lawrence?
Yes. It's going to do a quick motion for app for approval as a preliminary site plan. And then final approval, final site plan review next period. I'll get their stuff. It's late, vote again. Next approval.
You want to grab something?
Yep. Okay. I do that, so.
Got one?
Pardon? Good job. Thank you. So, question. How soon? You're gonna send me something then, you mentioned or?
Yes, we'll draft these minutes up and they'll be posted as pre-approved minutes on the Gerrish Township website at the same time. So it'll be in the next week, here will summary of the items that we'll send a letter to you, and then we'll mail it to you. And the usual we'll do is also have Jason do the PDF version and just email it to you so you'll see it.
Yeah.
As soon as possible there.
So then, once I get that all squared away, the next meeting could be to go.
Right. So we're talking mid-July.
Okay.
July 11th.
11th.
Thursday, 7 o'clock.
All right. Thanks, you.
Yep, appreciate it. And I'm just gonna draft, just gonna take a minute here to draft a formal motion.
It's all marked, Mike survives the meeting. I can leave now. I said Mike survives the meeting.
Yeah, it's the talking doesn't do any good to my cough. What's the official name of the Northern Michigan
Metal Roofing.
You said these properties were combined. And so do they have the same, is there just one parcel number now for them? You wrote down the parcel numbers in the application.
Well, I think there's calling one, is it B one and B two? Am I saying that correct? I don't remember.
We got three B one.
Yeah. It's a combined description.
Okay, so, yeah, so they use the both parcel numbers still with the B one, so. The code on that instead of 4653. Okay, I have a motion. So it goes as follows, move to approve the site plan submitted by the owner applicant, Mr. Mark Severance, Northern Michigan, Mountain Brook. For the property located at 635 West Federal Highway, Roscommon, Michigan, 4653. Parcel number 72004001 -025 -0070 and parcel number 72004001 025 estimated in the application dated 5/30/2024. Building storage meets the Gerrish Township zoning ordinance requirements for preliminary site plan.
Okay, motion's been made to approve the preliminary site plan review. Any further or second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. You good, Mark? You got it. I understand. You got another question?
once I get this material, from Mike, and I get that filled out in the areas, you can way to expedite this. You know,
I'll get back to you on that. If you can get it done and submit it, to Jason,
yeah,
and just turn it into him. And, I'll research that, I don't know.
Yeah, when you get the schedule right now, because you got July 4th coming up, which is the middle of the week prior.
yeah.
And,
No, I
and that, so our regular scheduled meeting next time, and what we've done to try and accommodate people. We planned like we did last year, we would actually meet once every other month on the odd months. But if there's a requirement to meet, so this, we meet on the second Thursday, so this by definition is actually a special meeting to accommodate. So we've had so many site plans and stuff
I understand.
in the past, it was several months and. The agenda's been pretty full and stuff on that, so. The reality is now, in between the next 4 weeks, I think the people's schedules and stuff, in fact, I got jury duty on that. Just got notified today, that's gonna go, so.
Very
Yeah, with holiday between there. But with the fact that there's no variances required, so you don't have to go before the ZBA. Or anything else, there should be other holdups after.
Good now. Yeah, very nice.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Yes. How's it going?
Can I interject and just ask a question? Sure, I know you're in a normal, hey, meeting, I don't mean to interrupt. I just have 2 questions. Sure. So when this comes back up at the next meeting, will there be another hearing that we'll get a notification on?
There'll be no public hearing,
Okay,
but we'll have a regular scheduled meeting July 11th. At 7 p.m. is our normal. We started early tonight just because of the public hearing.
so that's the first question. Second question, I have, is there a statute? This was only 23 days from the date of the letter till I received it. That seems pretty quick. For most documents, it's like 30 days. And so I'm just curious, was there a statute? Because we have one neighbor who's not here tonight, they're downstate, who were in Florida. They came back, they stopped us on Meadowlark Drive the other day. They objected to this. But unfortunately, they had to go to Detroit for a birthday party, is my understanding. And they weren't happy that they came back and it was like, they came back, they had the hearing. And so I'm just curious if there's a statute that it says it should be 30 days from the date they issue the letter. Do you have the comment period? I did a quick Google deal, 23 days from the date of the letter to tonight. And I'm just curious.
There's, the Open Hearings Act, and there are days on there. There is I think a 30-day, there's 2 different periods. There's one for getting the public notice, like in the paper and that stuff. And then there is a different time frame. And I think it's 15 days for the letters to the neighboring properties.
Well, here it is, right here. The 2 public notices in the newspaper or general circulation in the township for each public hearing. The first notice is given between 20 and 30 days prior to the hearing date, and the second notice is given within 8 days of the hearing date. Not less than 20 days notice of the time and place of the hearing shall also be given by mail to all the utility committees, electric, gas, pipeline, that type of thing, railroads.
Yeah, so it sounds like the date's okay then. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, because normally most things like this would be 30 days. I'm just curious what Michigan statute or your statute just said. So, and that's fine. If that's the time span, that's okay. Okay.
No, and I'm just citing from my head because I sent something this week. In the last week referencing, the posting of the minutes and approved stuff. So there is an approved minutes have to be posted by regulation within a certain time. The proposed minutes, they don't be approved, and then once they're approved at the next meeting, then there's like another shorter time frame where they need to be posted for the public notice, whether paper or online. And we are doing stuff. We've also undergone if you're new here, the supervisor now is Brian Hill, who was a former police chief here for years and worked the PD. So he just took over as an interim in March, at the end of March, and first of April. And he's also now waiting for the new board. So there's been some changes in the leadership here with some new stuff. And then there's also been a website update that's been ongoing since last summer. But he's also taken upon himself to start getting things up to, reviewing issues and ordinances and finding out, what the procedures are for different things for posting and these kind of meetings and the minutes and stuff like that, and getting all that stuff updated.
Someone stepped on it.
We get called out.
So, anyway, some of that stuff, the postings even for the websites and the consistency for the minutes, these different meetings have, in the last half year or so been a little sporadic, and we're trying to get a handle on that and get those things updated. And then one of the things we need to go through is scan all our approved minutes with the signatures on there and post all those, and that's a pretty tough time frame, all that, but there will be an opportunity when this goes before the township board, because they're the final approval on the authority. They have monthly meetings, and they also have monthly work session meetings. So it comes up with everything to go on the agenda, comes up on like a Thursday work session. Mr. Terry Newton here is the ex-official member that's on the board. So he's one of the trustees. So there'll be an opportunity there to voice an opinion. So our thing should be at the next meeting next month. That we would make a recommendation one way or the other, submit that to the board, then after that, then they're gonna have their work session and then too. So one way or the other, there'll be opportunity to do that. And people also, you do not need to attend in person. You can also put a thing up in writing or send an email, send a letter. And I understand, the consternation with a lot of that stuff. Somebody that's been up here now is for, going on 13 years of summer. I didn't understand the ins and outs of all these things too. You got people that are summer and residences, and they don't understand things, let alone people live up here full time and do stuff. So there is
The last thing, I appreciate all the guys that y'all guys do. I said on these committees, and you're thankful committees, and I appreciate all of them that y'all do for setting the committees. That's all I have. I didn't mean to interrupt your regular meeting.
No, I was gonna ask you to make sure you understood the next steps, how it went. But
Yes, yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Mine gave you a pretty good outline, so.
What I do.
Glad you came. We have a lot of public hearings. We have
Unfortunately, my company would not let me sit on something like this. Could be a conflict. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
You too, thank you. Yeah, let's talk about it for a minute. You guys look at it at all to refresh it? Yeah, you do. Well, your thoughts were keep it fairly minimal, like Markey Township's got one.
Markey and
Rostown.
they're very similar. And I also think that Lyon is considering the same type of ordinance. I think it's good to be doing that as long as, for instance, our board intends to pursue the people who they're not following.
In other words, it's gonna be enforced or not. I did talk to Brian, about this. And the gist of my conversation was just that. You want us to pursue this, you think there's a need. I talked to Jason about how many complaints, are coming through the pipe and stuff on the rentals and stuff, and he said initially there was a few, but for the most part, it wasn't that many, it wasn't like getting calls every week. But there were certain ones, like anything, you can give some people that abuse the opportunity. But Brian thought this would be something that he thinks we should pursue.
Is if people are allowed to establish short-term rental properties prior to the passing of the ordinance, then I think there is room from the ordinance. Personal standpoint, because they were there when the ordinance was created. And I'm not sure of exactly how that works, but that's my understanding. Yeah, maybe something else that we can look at. I guess what I'm saying is if there's 50 places that are doing that now, there could be 100 in 2 or 3 years. They've established now that those other places at least the maybe the first ones. By
The research I did, I came up with, but just looking at the VRBO and the Airbnb's websites and what properties they were showing on their websites in our area there, I came up with somewhere between 70 and 80. It's hard to do because they do list it one way and then they'll list it under.
Yeah, and they don't get the exact address either, they don't show.
Yeah, I was going by just their little bubbles,
Right.
Or the location and stuff for them.
the right about number 2, because he sends the people that are doing that now like some sort of, I think he sends the people that are doing that now some sort of guidelines once a year or something like that. Make sure that they understand what they need to do in order to be, I guess, or to fit in with whatever we're done. So I think he already does that. He has a number.
Yeah, you're saying the township does,
Yeah,
is,
Do we, have you guys looked at like the Ross Common and Markey Common?
I have not read through them. Then recently,
They're pretty straightforward. Haven't found anything really wrong with it yet. I don't know if you wanna reinvent the wheel, is what I'm getting at.
if I recall, one of the things that stood out in my mind a while back, I read was there are things right there that standards you would hold with the short-term rental stuff. That I don't think a lot of the necessarily the non-rental properties follow themselves. And stuff like weekends, there may be, a lot of extra cars. If you look at the ordinance for what the number of cars can be parked in property and number of people and all that. There's actually
a private owner may actually exceed the limits that are specified for the short term.
yes. But there actually is an ordinance and stuff that specifies, even some of those constraints on just the regular people in the township already. And by doing it, if the short-term rental thing goes ahead and with some of the stipulations, you put that stuff down and to be pulled out, I can see a pushback over, they need to be enforcing the other stuff as well. On the local residents, just.
But the difference is whether you're collecting money.
Right, I mean,
Just having friends up.
yeah, well,
And you're exceeding the parking for the area,
yeah, but the ultimate thing is the same thing, they want a peaceful place with us, so ultimately the complaints are coming in, they're coming in because the noise complaints are excessive use of, property and that can happen with people that are not, a rental property or not, you could have a neighbor that's, super great, and Lisa just didn't like all that. Right, so some of the,
A lot of short-term rental thing was that you got absentee owners. You got people that bought them as an investment property,
right, and they took it.
and then it becomes harder to regular, or that's not regular, but enforce, there's a problem.
Also, from what I've seen in the other ordinances in various places, they have a provision in all about having a local person that will respond to any problems. So I think that's a pretty good idea too.
Then, yeah, that's how they're handling that.
The other thing that came up, was that people are buying 3, 4, 5 units. But now it's a commercial. And so. Is it a business or is it just one owner? Short-term rental? And that it's in a commercial business. Well, Tony. And just from one guy's house. I was in a meeting at Lyon Township, and they said they had 140 short-term rental. They're concerned about how many they have out of enforcement. And they're also looking at some kind of ordinance that,
You know, I think the one they're looking at is the one that's duplicate, like in Roscommon Township,
okay,
in Barney Township too.
okay.
And I think just in general, it's a good idea if we have uniform situations around the lake.
Especially the same way.
Yeah,
It's,
so, yeah, I think that's probably good.
Yeah, one of the things that, like the enforcement standpoint that Brian mentioned was also, do you have the budget? As part of the enforcement, there's the people who go out and actually do the, the monitoring and like the stuff. But there was another aspect of the budget stuff, when you start getting into appeals or legal things, is the township have the resources, budgeted for going to court, right, with some of these things. So you could, it could be either way. It could be for or against a particular, person or somebody complaining about stuff, saying they have a short-term rental, and you're making an accusation, I can't do this, they might sue you, or the other way around, somebody's going to sort of want to sue and stuff. But then there's the legal liabilities, there's the court cost and all that stuff. And not only to have the, so that was something I hadn't thought about before, and that's something that Brian's been, looking at. Is like, if you're gonna have enforcement authority, you also need to have the resources necessary to back it up, whether it's manpower, time, personnel, or deferred dollars, for whatever purpose, and that's a big concern. You get one big lawsuit that goes one way, and then that could blow a whole bunch of budget.
Yeah, we had that discussion that, basically, I think, kind of cross that bridge when they get to it. One of the trends is, these Airbnbs and stuff, those renters are subscribed to that service. And those services that really crack down on their clients, the owners, saying that you need to abide by the local rules, you need to abide by this stuff, because you're giving us all a black eye, you don't. So they're helping to enforce. There's enforcement help through them to the owners. But if they don't belong to that, that's a other thing. But you're right, we'd have to create a database, because all these have to be registered.
If they call it license, certain areas, and there are fees for the license fee that are included here. So that there's a system of renewal, and then there's also the other side of that. There's a system that's set up if you want to revoke licenses. Some of the ordinances that I've read talk about if your license gets revoked, then you can't be applied for 36 months, or something like that. So it gets involved, but that's all part of what the process is.
Yeah,
Well,
I think Jason inspects right now in the first month. But I don't know how many he's inspected.
Is that for long-term rentals?
I thought he was checking those out, so you had to get a permit. Township,
There's a permit required now.
for sure. For sure, let me check, but
Yeah, I didn't know what you were referring to.
Yes,
When you
sure.
say he inspects them.
where they got I thought sure you gave the permit, it had to be inspected before they could get it, let me double check.
Okay.
But,
I'm thinking that might be for long-term, I don't know.
If
that's the case, then we wouldn't be looking for something like this, so I. And I think there's also a long-term rental board. That exists of a couple people that reviews things, and Jason may be the person that does the. Because or do long-term stuff, I think, if you have everything have to be on the code.
yeah, I'm sure we'll. You put this ordinance and you could get some things, something. A lot of the townships are also limiting the amount of, in other words, we're gonna give out 150 permits and that's it. You go on a waiting list, somebody drops out. We'll be in. I don't know how that. But, I mean, if you look at Acme Township, it's 11 pages. They have 2 different classifications of rentals. In 2. So it's much more detailed. They got penalties, violations, all that same stuff as everybody. But, yeah, they have 2 rental classifications. One's tourist home, which is a short-term rental operation in which a portion of the dwelling is rented out, where the owner of the property resides full-time in the dwelling. So you rent a room, part of your house. And then they have what's called a vacation home, which is a short-term rental operation, which the entire dwelling unit is rented out without the property owner residing. So they got, you know, so as you can see, you can just expanding the bubble and the sphere want to go.
One other thing that we have, I think, to our advantage, is some other people are already doing this, like they're doing it in Marquis and they're doing it in Roscommon. We can talk to them, find out, you know, what the problems might be that they're seeing, and how happy they are with it. That's probably a good clue as to what we could expect.
Yeah. You talked to Diane Rand, didn't you? That last
I
time.
talked to Carrie Milner.
Oh, Carrie, okay. She's
The clerk, I believe.
yeah, because Diane's a supervisor. Okay. And she was happy with your ordinance so far?
Yeah, she said that everything's going fine.
Yeah, when you get to, I think there's probably about a half dozen things. That will be the things that we to determine. One is the numbers, and then some of the limitations. One is who were, or how many number of units that can be rented in this township as a whole. Then, you know, the numbers of people in the buildings or those kind of restrictions. And some of the enforcement stuff for how long, what permitted costs.
And in Acme, they had, of those 2 types that Tom mentioned, they had a limit of 50 of each that they were gonna allow.
I don't know how big their lake or their area is, I don't know if they got a lake or not.
Well, they border the bay, East Bay. And then they got the golf courses around there and stuff. So.
Because like you said, like 70 or maybe anywhere between 70 to 120 or so that you could potentially identify on.
In Gerrish,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's, and then I wonder how many are not advertising on those that do stuff on a regular basis. That
Probably a pretty close number.
I have no idea whether it could be, is it like 10%? You know, of those total numbers of people doing it independently, or is it 50 or 100%?
I think it's pretty close, because I did some research on trying to determine who we wanted to communicate with. So it could be, you know, 10% different.
yeah, it's hard to know. We make it up. So how do you want to proceed from here? You want to go through, you want to just use the Roscommon and Marquis ordinances, look at them, see what the commonalities are, and then
anything in there that you don't agree with or you question, and review it that way. You know, mark up an ordinance.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just take a couple and start with and see what you need. The Markey and Roscommon ones are not as extensive as the one from Hackney. Hackney has a whole section of what to do with pets and so forth too.
So say you, how deep in the weeds you want to get. But I mean, that just to get us started, you should have copies of those, or you can get them, they're on their websites. I don't know. I copied these probably almost a year ago, so I don't know if they made any changes or not. Take a look. Well, let's do that. Just kind of go through them, see what makes sense to you. If you have questions, mark it up. You don't think something's needed or you need more,
I'm wondering about public hearing or input from the community. Obviously, there will be, some formal hearings at some time,
oh yeah,
but is this something that we may want to, even like do our preliminary markups of these things? I mean, we have to do a due diligence enough of our own that, before you go out talking with anybody. But then, should we, potentially look at having a public hearing, just say, here's a concept we've been mulling over and a potential thing before any other formal hearings down the road. Or, what I want to try and prevent is like something where all of a sudden, what he was mentioning,
yeah, no, I.
you have something that
I don't see it, yeah, I think that's fine,
to get in, and that would kind of get some feedback, yay, or, positive, negative.
well, it just puts everybody on notice, something's coming.
And we're all saying, it's like, yeah, you got a public
Here's
hearing,
what we're
then 30 days later it goes to the board, and then another, hearing, and 3 months it's done.
Right.
And people are like, what? And again, if you're gone, or even if you were here, you could have been sick or one time to. And that's a real quick period. And stuff, and Brian even seemed to be on the timeline that he had to have, that he was looking to have something, by the end of the summer.
He told you that?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to get a feel from this, something, we need to, all these meetings, I mean, you can work as hard as you want to get something to a deadline and stuff on there, it's with everything else going on, just trying to get a feel from that. And I think he was thinking, within a year or so of, hopefully having something.
Well, we've been just saying on site plans.
Yeah.
I think I might have a little different opinion about how to do that. I think that we should put together a recommended document first before asking other people to review it. Because otherwise, I think that you get too much variation. I agree, I mean, if you have 30 people in the hearing, you'll get 30 different ways to write a short-term one.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've got to do some work ahead, the question is, how much, and then do you have like preliminary, hearing at that point, you should have something you've done enough due diligence on to present to people when you have some kind of form.
The other thing that I did as I was reading through these, is I thought to myself, so if we put something together, and like we butt up to Markey Township, right? We butt up to Lyon Township. And I think there's an advantage to it being very similar rather than they have a lot of difference. So I looked at it as, would this be very essential to put something in like Acme has, over and above using the same one that the other 3 townships already in Roscommon might be using. And it does seem to me as though there would be an advantage to having it be the same. So I guess I would look at it from the slant of, can it be the same as the one that the Markey document? Or is there a necessity for different? And then weigh whether you think the differences are worth making the change that makes it different than adjacent townships. That's what it seems.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Also, Beaver Creek too, what about,
They have,
I don't know, that's what brought it up, you think it's like this Gerrish and Pine, but you got that, state park area.
Stretch.
Small stretch of Beaver Creek, which they opted out of the sewer stuff, but they're still. Fighting the
first we
lake.
can't control what they.
No, I'm just saying that it's something I don't know if they have one or not, or if they even.
But I'd be willing to go through things and mark them up and say what. And I'd also be willing to call the market township people and ask them if they see any provisions, maybe the clerk there, the supervisor. They see anything that they would have changed from the get go or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what the reactions been. I mean, obviously not seeing a bunch of letters in the paper and everything, you know, it's not as intense as the sewer stuff and all that kind of thing. Okay, well, let's do that. That'll get us off the center. And, might be easier than you think. I don't know if there's a plagiarism rule or what.
Plagiarizing and all possible, and being legal.
It's not that, there's later.
How many words do I gotta change?
Yeah, like I say,
Just which township it's in. That's-
Yeah. Duplication is good sometimes, and, you know, but you prefer to.
I know the states, they got, I was reading one of their latest bills, and I mean, they're after, they want sales tax. That's, they're after, they wanna charge 6% sales tax. So, and they, in their bills that they are proposed, which I don't think are gonna have any action for a while. One of the bills, one of the statements is this supersedes anything that a local government has, you know, you will follow. So. Another reason maybe not to get too crazy with it. It might be all or nothing.
Kind of like septic. They're supposed to work at the plants, but see how that.
Um. For some reason, Jason, you know, we were going to, at the hearing, do the changes to the ordinances, some text changes and stuff that we've been carrying through. Recently. And I was starting to get him through, and he contacted me and said he wanted to pull out of it because he had some stuff he wanted to review. But then he's not here tonight. So just in case you were wondering what happened with that, that's what my number 9 is.
Yeah, he said he had some different. Talk about that, I asked him
Okay.
about. I thought we were gonna do both too, and then he came up and said, no, he wanted to do some, he's gonna let the site plan stuff. Get all these things out of the way, because he's dealing with these things too, and he had some different wording and things than what we originally had. I'm not sure on what. There were several of them, it's been so long ago, and I haven't had the opportunity to take the opportunity to.
I just letting you know that's why that didn't happen. Okay. So.
But he did say he wanted to present something to us. Say, here's what his thoughts are.
So we'll carry that over. Anything else?
As far as EDAs, there hasn't been anyone scheduled. He said there might be 2 that people are considered variance, but they have to do some other preliminary stuff first, and he hasn't seen anything on that, which is good for me from the standpoint of not having to do additional work at this point, because usually we've had numerous ones already, but one of them, I think, is the property showing or something like that. Another one is for accessory structure. Bill, but then the one thing I don't want to bring this up with the EPA stuff, I just may have seen in the news, I guess, Saab, the Swedish organization anyways is looking right now to put in an ammunition plant. Really? So the railing is area. It's one of 6 sites, I think, throughout the US. They want to do, I just saw that online, local stuff, and it was. So you look at 32 News or something, Google it, there's an article, so anyways, they're talking of potential several hundred jobs from that, they want to, build some. Come in, and, they want to start building. Start operations, building the stuff before the end of this year. So it could be several hundred jobs in the area initially, and several hundred after that. I think they're like smart munitions for artillery shells. All that.
Makes
There's,
sense with Camp Finley right there.
yeah, but there is, I think, there are 6 areas of the country that they're looking. But that's, but with that coming in, that brings some other, you know, it's just right next door. And I don't know what the formula is, but I know what, like, you know, you bring X number of jobs requires X additional jobs for people to the area. Come in, and you know, with that, you're gonna have all, and they're talking about, already is the preliminary stuff to that, you know, working with the schools, for STEM type programs and community college, get people trained up and, you know, from, the building aspects and some of the skills, market skills to that, but you got that, so something like that, that's gonna have to get more influx of people to the area for working. But then also, I'm sure a lot of people want to be at the lake and even down here, so just because it's rail and Crawford, there'll be impacts and stuff on here if that goes through, you know, this area. So, you know, there's still, there'll be some, it's stuff that was just starting to talk about.
Jerry, did you have anything?
Yeah, a couple of quick things. Our last board meeting, they were discussing changing policies and procedures in our personnel manual. So we've been working on that, trying to get a couple of our hands up way to say the least. So we're taking care of those. Also, Wednesday, June 26th is a public meeting for the fire hall. And it'll be down there and it's just to talk about, have people come in and explain why they want a new fire building. And that will be, open to everybody. They're gonna put the papers, it'll be on the sign. And, Jim's gonna put it on the website, so. That's just for the public to come in and say, here's our operation, this is why we need a new building, so please show up.
So June 26th?
Yeah.
There's also.
Wednesday, the second one is July 29th, same type of thing. So if you missed the first, come to the second. But trying to get the public aware, because
Is that a day thing or a night?
7 o'clock, same thing. Because with the, it's gonna be on the ballot, obviously, for August, and I know they're a little bit concerned with what they're fighting against the county and other things, so. Go on.
Sure.
I know he's always, pushing the 75th anniversary to fire department. It's coming up August 3rd.
With the policy stuff on there, what are the things that I talked to Michelle about in the past? And some others is, should we be having a separate email account for all the board members, like on these extra boards here, just like trustees, you guys have? What that gets into is employee stuff, that if there's any request or, you know, like potentially that your computer could take it away. You know, discovered. Yeah, well, just from like the standpoint of, not being able to use it if it's been taken, you know, from there, or just, you know, your emails have to, you know, somebody comes in with their request, you look, you know, everything.
Are they looking into that?
No, I'd asked that a long time ago. I think you probably Kathleen, that we probably something that we should address and with the new changeover and stuff, with some policy things. I haven't talked to Ryan about it or anybody recently. But
Something what MTA would say about that. That was some part of the daily.
yeah, I mean, to me, it seemed like we probably should just at least have a separate email for each one of us. This is, you know, even if it's our name, just because the trustees, I remember that you guys came on there in July, that there was issues, I think, with very legal side. You know, about getting connectivity and stuff.
But even if we did that, it wouldn't be on a township server.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I don't know a lot of that. Yeah, because, you know, email is one thing, but if it gets to, okay, you know, does your computer get taken away or, you know, for time being, you know, if that ever came.
I know right now our names are on there, it just said supervisor, clerk, treasurer. trustee one, but.
Yeah.
So,
So when you access those emails, do you have to log in with the cat card or some kind of thing on the Gerrish Township server to see it, or can you bring that up on your own computer?
I have a tablet at home. And it's all set up, so it just comes up, I don't have a password.
Okay, but it's a separate Gerrish Township
Oh, yeah, I have.
thing, so you don't,
You know, and I have the document.
right, so any township related official stuff.
Yep.
Now goes to that tablet, can you do any of that official stuff on your own computer, or did, like when it comes to emails, or,
I can,
yeah, but essentially you're using the tablet.
yeah, the trustee, yeah, that's how it's set up.
And that would be the thing, is that something, I don't know, that you, oh, that's additional cost for a tablet or something there. I know with the military, there were some things you could do in your computer, but you had to get a card, a cat card you could plug in. And you log into the server in the township here out of the current state. You see, that's what you, now,
Above my pay grade.
but anyways, that's just something that, if you could maybe bring that up, or to be, it's just not for the planning commission, but for all the other boards, like CPAs and, board review.
That's all I got.
Who is your, I'll second.
All third,
All in support?
I,
City settlement.
Votes.